So NBA Twitter had another comparison thing, and typically I don't really care about them when I'm looking at them, but then I think about them some more, and I figure why not. So it's prime Dwight Howard versus Anthony Davis. Prime Dwight is 4 or 5 year stretch, I guess, versus Anthony Davis. And I guess with AD, you maybe take off the first 2 years of his career. I don't really know how you line this up exactly, but whatever. It's open for interpretation, I guess. In terms of team success, of course, prime Dwight Howard has the edge. NBA Finals appearance, Conference Finals appearance. There was also a round 2 loss to the Pistons before the Magic really got rolling. And AD hasn't gotten past the second round. He only got there once with the Pelicans, of course. So, Dwight's certainly got the edge in terms of that stuff. If we wanted to boil it down as players to its simplest thing, then it would be Dwight better on defense, Anthony Davis better on offense. And it's kind of interesting when you evaluate Anthony Davis's defense, because when you watch the guy defend, and we're not just talking about this year, but Pelicans years, you'd know he was really good on defense, and yet his teams would not be that good on that side of the floor. And it's an interesting thing of, could he one-man a defense? Because we've seen some bigs, one of them being prime Dwight Howard, kind of make a team great defensively by themselves. I feel like Embiid kind of does that. I mean, Philly's got good defenders around him, especially now with Ben Simmons' ascension defensively, but even in Embiid's rookie season, when he was in the game, Philly was great defensively, you know what I mean? We've seen it with Gobert, saw with prime Dwight, saw with Tim Duncan for a long time, although if you don't want to count the Kawhi years, that's cool. I would still count like the Bruce Bowen years and stuff like that. We saw with Kevin Garnett. The point being, if you're truly a great all-time defensive big or whatever, history says you're usually able to take your team to, let's say, 10th in defensive rating, kinda by yourself. Anthony Davis, never able to do that with the Pelicans. Except for the 2017 season, where the Pelicans' offense was terrible and they were 9th defensively. Even the year that they won the 48 games, they were 14th in defense. Not amazing. That was also the Boogie experiment, so if you want to give AD a break, then you can blame the defense not being amazing on DeMarcus Cousins. I don't know what it would be. But I think that whole thing matters when you start to think about comparing these two great big guys. I guess what I'm getting at is, at what point do the numbers take over the eye test for a guy's defense? Because if we're going to suggest that prime Dwight Howard has a massive advantage over Anthony Davis defensively, that would make it very difficult for Anthony Davis to win this comparison when we already take the team's success into account. Now, we'll get into AD's teams a little bit more because they're not pretty, but I just feel like that's something that should be pointed out. It's like, we want to say that Anthony Davis was a great defensive player for the majority of his career, while his teams were not that good on defense most of the time. So what does that all mean when comparing it to prime Dwight? I don't really know. Maybe I'll figure it out by the time I'm done with this video. Anyway, if we're going to talk about Anthony Davis's teams, this is when it can get depressing. So, in the 2015 season, they win 45 games. Everybody was thinking next season they're going to win 50-something. AD's going to be an MVP candidate. Team's going in the right direction. Whole bunch of stuff, right? Should be said, they lost to the Warriors in 4 games that year. AD was really good. He put up like 31 and 11. He was great efficiency-wise. I shouldn't say for the year. I should say in that series against Golden State. Because I do know that some people want to kill AD for losing in the playoffs. I'm of the opinion that if you're facing the best team in the league and you play amazing and you get swept, it's not your fault. Which sounds pretty obvious to me, but I know some people would still kill AD for that, and I'm just like, I don't know what the hell else you wanted the guy to do. You want him to average 40 or something against the Warriors? I don't know. Anyway, the year after that, supposed to be the big season. Pelicans suck. 30 games, not good at all. What happens? Well, I think this is when they traded for Omer Asik, and he got sick right away, lost a lot of weight, wasn't the same guy at all, and that was a big blow because they traded a first-round pick for him, and they were thinking that was going to be the big next to AD, and it just didn't work at all. On top of that, AD missed about 20 games. Eric Gordon, who never wanted to be on the Pelicans, played about half the season. Tyreke Evans only played 25 games, and I mean, personally, I don't think Tyreke Evans was really ever that good, but he was way better than what the Pelicans were forced to play. I mean, their 2016 team, you're looking at Ish Smith, who, to be fair, is okay in, a pass-first kind of role, but then there's Dante Cunningham, Norris Cole, Kendrick Perkins played 37 games for that team, Alexis Ajinça, Luke Babbitt, Tony Douglas. It's a really rough roster. 21 players played for the Pelicans that year because they just weren't healthy. It was a bad team. Now, that being said, we have seen star players carry teams that are going through rough patches with injuries to, some level of success. We saw Kyle Lowry do it for stretches this year for the Raptors. And so it's like, well, just how much of a break do you want to give Anthony Davis for the 2016 Pelicans having the season from hell? I don't know. If we move on to 2017, 34 games. It's kind of a similar thing. This year they actually had more players suit up. They had 26 players total suit up. Granted, some of them were like 2 or 3 games, but still, I mean, they needed 55 games out of Langston Galloway, 65 out of Tim Frazier, 51 out of Terrence Jones. Solomon Hill played 80 because they wanted to give him a bunch of money for some reason. The thing I'm getting at is this is a far cry from the Dwight Howard teams who were built, I don't want to say perfectly because there wasn't really a second star. Like Turkoglu was masquerading as a star for one season, and Rashard Lewis was occasionally a star. But it was an elite player in a great system with a great coach, and the talent around him was, we'll say, good to very good with Dwight and all that, right? Still way better than what Anthony Davis had around him for years. I mean, the only thing that was decent around him for basically his whole run with the Pelicans was Drew Holiday. And even then, Drew wasn't playing full seasons until basically the one good year they had. So, yeah. We move on to 2018, excuse me. This is when the Pelicans win 48 games, sweep the Blazers, lose in round 2 to Golden State. Once again, Anthony Davis playing very well against the Warriors, averages 28 and 15, and his team loses in 5 games. And then we have the 2019 season where he tried to force himself to the Lakers and he eventually got there. What would be the way to think about this? I mean, we can do the classic NBA fan thing, which is if you just switch their situations and you make Anthony Davis the power forward or center of the Magic, and then you put shooting around him and you Turkoglu, Rashard Lewis, Jameer Nelson, Stan Van. The answer is that Magic team probably a little better on offense, a little worse defensively. Do they end up being a better team overall? Alright, so the 2009 Magic, they were 11th in offense. They were 1st in defense. Say if you put Anthony Davis there over Dwight Howard. Let's say they're like 3rd in offense and 6th in defense. We can look at another thing. Dwight Howard averaged 15 points a game against the Lakers in the NBA Finals. think Anthony Davis averages more than 15? This is 23-year-old Dwight Howard. So we compare that to 23-year-old Anthony Davis, who averaged 28 a game, and obviously has more post moves and can go off the dribble more and that type of thing. Yeah, he probably puts up a better performance against the Lakers. And just to cover my bases, I think if AD was replacing Dwight, I feel like they would still beat the Cavs and the Celtics without KG that year. And on the flip side, if you were to put Dwight Howard on those teams with a mess of injuries and whatever else for the Pelicans year after year, are they better? I would guess that they're better defensively. Well, I wouldn't guess that. They definitely would. We're talking about a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year here. So, yeah, they're definitely better defensively. And offensively, they're probably worse. I mean, you're going from AD to Dwight, who couldn't do the same stuff. I don't know, man. It's tough. I feel like just simply going with my gut, I feel like Anthony Davis is the pick. Because the offense is just more important than defense. Assuming the defense isn't horrible. And I guess I'm choosing to not blame AD for those Pelicans teams not being good on defense. I just think when you have such a rotating cast of guys who are not that good, I just feel like it's going to be really, really difficult to win. Is choosing Anthony Davis in this conversation, is that like a hot take at all? Perhaps it is, I don't really know. But yeah, I'm going to take AD. Apologies to Prime Dwight Howard.